Hello everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. So I'm back today with another TBR and TBW video, this time for the month of March 2022. So if you don't know, TBR is simply my to-be-read pile, so the books that I'm planning to read for the upcoming month, and then my TBW stands for to be watched. So that's basically my watch list for the upcoming month. But what's cool about my TBW is that I do my letter and prompt TBW game. So I have a Scrabble bag filled with letters and then a deck of cards with a bunch of prompts on them. So I am sort of kind of randomly figuring out what it is that I'm going to watch for next month to try to knock some of these unwatched physical discs off my plate. So we'll see what the Scrabble letters and the prompts give for me for the month of March. I am really excited to dive into this one, guys. And if you are excited about this video, please give it a like down below. That engagement really does help me out. But with that said, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into my March 2022 TBR and TBW video. As always, I'll start off with my TBR or my to-be-read pile for the month of March, and the first one here I'll be super brief on because I talked about it at length in last month's video, but this is Star Wars Path of Destruction, written by Drew Karpyshyn. So this one is awesome. I am loving it. I am just over halfway done at this point, and please do not take my slow reading of this book to mean that it is not great, because I really love this one. I spend less time when I'm reading something physical as opposed to an audiobook. If this was an audiobook, it would have been done weeks ago, but I'm doing it in the physical, well, I guess physical-ish because it's an ebook, but I'm like holding my physical Kindle Paperwhite, so it's just not an audiobook. So it's just taking me a little bit longer to get through this one, but I am hoping to get through it by the end of March here, and I am loving it. This is the story, this is the first of the trilogy for Darth Bane, and it is excellent. Like, I am loving it. And so I'm really excited to see where this one ends up. So won't say anything more about it because I talked about it a lot last month, but the first book that I'm hoping to complete this month is Star Wars Path of Destruction, written by Drew Karpyshyn. The next book on my TBR is another audiobook. Actually, I think all three of these are audiobooks this month, but the next one is Blackbirds in the Sky, written by Brandy Colbert. So this one is actually a nonfiction. It's true crime. It's the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre that happened back in 1921. So basically, this white mob attacked this predominantly black neighborhood known as Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they ended up destroying like 35 blocks, I believe it was, of black-owned businesses and homes. And over this, hours-long period, they ended up killing hundreds of people. So it is just this horrific event that I had frankly never heard of before. I'm actually around 75% of the way through this one, and it's good. It is definitely, it feels very, textbook, I guess. It is just laying out fact after fact after fact, at least leading up to, I guess this is chapter 4, when it actually talks about the events of the Tulsa race riots. This is a little bit more narrative, and so when it comes to true crime, when it comes to nonfiction, I prefer it being told in more of a narrative style than just a fact, like point by point. And so now that it's at this point, I'm enjoying it a lot more. It wasn't bad previously. I did learn some things, but there's a lot of things that were tossed out there, just facts after fact, that I'm just not going to remember after this book is done. And so what I typically tend to, what sticks in my head are the individuals, the human side of the stories. And so now that we're into that, it's becoming a lot more interesting. And this is just fascinating. It is an absolutely terrible story that I don't know how, I've never heard of this before. And so I feel so ignorant, but I'm glad that I'm now learning about it because it is super important. And just history like this needs to be told a lot more than it does. And so, this one is really good. The narration, I think, is done really well as well. I'm doing this one on Audible. It was a deal of the day sometime last month, I think. So Blackbirds in the Sky, written by Brandy Colbert, is number 2 on my list for the month of March. The third and final audiobook on the list for this month is one that finally came available to me on Libby. I think I placed the hold for this back in the beginning of December, I think. Like, it has been so long, but finally, just like 2 days ago, it became available. I am talking about the Final Girl Support Group, written by Grady Hendrix. So this one it's a super popular book. If you know anything about, horror books, you probably have heard of this one. I think it won like the Goodreads Horror Book of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So very popular. Tons of people have read this, and I've heard excellent things about it. My buddy loved it, if I'm not mistaken. He was, I think, the one who kind of talked me into watching or reading it. But basically, we are following a support group for final girls from like slasher films. I think in this case, they're actually real life, survivors, but it's basically final girls from slasher films. And I've heard that they don't like use the real people from, not the real people, the real characters from some of our favorite movies like Scream or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or what have you. But I've heard that it's pretty easy to directly relate them to their movie that they're supposed to be from. So I don't know if that's true or not, because I haven't started this one yet, but really looking forward to this. I've heard there are just a ton of really fun horror movie references, which you guys know obsessed with. So yeah, really excited to finally have access to this one thanks to Libby. So my loan is now available, so that is next up on the docket here. I should finish the Blackbirds in the Sky probably middle of this coming week here, so that one I should be starting really soon, this the Final Girl Support Group. So really looking forward to checking this one out finally after this months-long wait. So the last one on my TBR for the month of March is the Final Girl Support Group, written by Grady Hendrix. So with that said, let's jump over to the TBW side. First, I will go over some of the rules, and then we'll start picking out my my March TBW. I will go over the rules from my letter and prompt TBW game just in case you're new, but first I want to mention that I did watch the 4 movies from last month's TBW game. So X-Men, Flash Gordon, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and Bonnie and Clyde. So I watched all of these, and I do have thoughts, and I do want to share those thoughts. Normally, this is the point in this video where I would do like a rank and like a quick 30-second review of each of these, but instead, I thought, you know what? Instead of trying to crunch that in here, let's just do its own separate video. So in the coming days here, you will see a rank and review of my February TBW. So definitely look out for that if you're interested in my thoughts on those 4 movies. So it won't be a super long video. I'm not going to make them like really long reviews or anything like that, but I do want to give them a little bit more time and have them stand out as just kind of separate reviews on the channel. So I figured that would be the best way to handle that. So with that said, check for my rank and review on my February TBW coming in, I don't know, the next week or so here. But in the meantime, let's talk some rules on my letter and prompt TBW game in case you are brand new to this video, which it's very possible this is your first video, so I want to make sure you understand what's going on here, at least kind of a high-level overview of what's going on. So each month for my letter and prompt game, I draw 1 letter from my Scrabble bag. So there's A through Z plus 2 blank tiles, which always act as any letter of the alphabet, as they do in Scrabble. And then I draw a card from my deck of cards, which contain a bunch of prompts on them. There are so many different things, like, watch a 4K movie, watch a Blu-ray. I got both of those last time. Watch a reboot. I got that last month as well. Watch something from one of my boutique labels, for example. There's a bunch of different prompts. And thank you guys so much for giving me some suggestions for more additional prompts. I'm definitely going to add those in. I realized too late that I didn't add them in yet, so they're not in this month's deck, but they will be for next month. At least that's the idea. So if you have any cool ideas for more suggestions, please just leave those ideas down in the comments below. If it's not already in here, chances are I will add it in, so there's a chance I will draw that prompt in the future. Once I have my letter and my prompt, I then match a film title that begins with that letter with the chosen prompt. So there are a few caveats with this. One, it has to be a physical media pick, so something in my physical media collection. 2, my unwatched movies are the preference. I have so many unwatched films in my collection, so if I can watch one of those over something I've seen previously, then I'm gonna go that route. If I can't match a movie that begins with that selected tile to that prompt, I will then just move down the alphabet to, if I draw the letter E, I'll move down to F or G, and then so on until the end of the alphabet. The letter always goes back into the bag, and then if I draw it a second time, that then becomes the director's first or last name as opposed to the movie title. The big thing thing though is that I have to watch that film in the given month, and if I don't, then I have to unhaul it. So I have to trade it, sell it, just get rid of it in one way or another. So that's kind of my motivation to get through these movies by the end of the month. New to season 2, which is now in our second episode of season 2, I guess, or our second month of season 2. But new to this season is that the Jokers now represent something else. The colorful Joker still represents a save. So if for whatever reason I don't get to a movie in a month, I can use that Joker card to save it from having to get rid of it. But then there is a black and white Joker. So instead of it being a save, it actually adds a movie to my picks for that month. So instead of picking 3, for example, I would have to pick 4. So those are what the Joker cards represent, and that's kind of the quick and dirty rundown of my letter and prompt game. If anything weird pops up while we're playing, we'll address that at the time. And just as a reminder, the prompts that I pick while I'm playing this, like last month's prompts, for example, they don't go back in. I just set them aside, and then once I get through a bunch of prompts throughout a few different months, I will then go back and add them in. But yeah, I just want there to be some variety, so that's why I don't add those, just so in case you were wondering. So, oh my gosh, the first letter is Q. Oh, so starting off with a very difficult one. This is like the opposite of last month, because last month I started off with like a blank tile. I think I had 2 blanks last month. So anyway, the letter Q. So let me grab my prompts here. I'll give them a quick shuffle. And like I always say, I used to try to show it you guys shuffling these, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to cheat because that just wouldn't be fun. So anyway, pulling this prompt out here, a boutique label pick. This is Criterion Collection. So now the big question becomes, do I have a Criterion Collection film that begins with the letter Q? I frankly have no idea. So let me take a look through my collection and see what I can find. So this is a great example of having to move down the alphabet. There is not a single movie in my Criterion Collection that begins with the letter Q. So because of that, I will have to move down to the letter R. With R, I have a ton. So what I've decided to go with here is a cult classic. At least I've heard it's a cult classic from 1984, Repo Man. So this one is, who directed this? This is Alex Cox. So this cover is simply amazing. It is one of my favorite covers in the collection. I just love the aesthetics here. It looks so cool. And like I said, I've heard really like fun things about this movie. I don't know if I'm going to love it or not because it's a very divisive film from what I've heard about it, but I couldn't pass it up because look at that cover. It's amazing. So yeah, sometimes that's enough. Good word of mouth and a really cool cover. I'm sold. And that's what happened in this case. So I'm going to check out this Alex Cox classic to see if it's any good. Yeah, this is a quintessential cult film of the 1980s, a singular sci-fi comedy. So yeah, Harry Dean Stanton is in this one. Like, that just sounds fun. It takes place in Los Angeles. Like, this should be a good time. I'm really excited to finally get around to Repo Man from 1984. So that'll be the first one on my list for March. Okay, so Q is going to go back into the bag, and I will draw another letter here for number 2. Good first one, so I'm feeling really good about this month so far. Okay, another not super like common letter. We have J, so let's see what J is going to match up with this time out. Do a little shuffle here and there, cut it, and we're going to see what we have. Oh my gosh, another boutique label pick. This time, Vinegar Syndrome. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the letter J. J with Vinegar Syndrome. So nothing comes to mind immediately, if I can get this up here. So I'll have to take a look through my collection and see what I can find. J from the Vinegar Syndrome collection. Okay, so I will be completely honest with you guys. Finding the letter J from my Vinegar Syndrome collection was a little more interesting than I first anticipated it being. So in the interest of full disclosure, I do have one title in my Vinegar Syndrome collection that I've not watched that begins with the letter J. Unfortunately, it's a movie that if I talk about it on the channel or even just show the cover on the channel, I would be demonetized. And so I don't want any like strikes from YouTube or anything like that. And because I can't even show the cover, it's not one I'm going to talk about on the channel here. At least not at this point, maybe down the line. I don't know. But right now I'm not going to be talking about Jungle Blue. So instead I move down the alphabet and I have nothing that begins with K. So instead I have to move to the letter L. And there, fortunately, I did have one that was appropriate to talk about. And that is Luther the Geek. So this one is from 1988, and our main character here, I guess, is a geek, which apparently is someone who like bites the heads off of chickens and in exchange for booze or money. extremely strange, but apparently he is now getting out of prison and is heading back home with a lust for blood, human blood at this point. And so this is just a slasher film, and I got this a long time ago and I've never watched it before. You can see it is actually still sealed. So this is a movie I can talk about on the channel. So when I do my wrap up at the end of the month, or when I do like my rank and review of this when I'm done, I'll actually be able to talk about this one where I couldn't with the other movie. So that's why I decided, you know, move on to the next one and see what we have. So I'm going to do Luther the Geek instead of Jungle Blue, and I apologize for anyone who's upset by that, but it just makes sense for the channel. Okay, Jay's going back in the bag. Let's do one more here and see what we get. Oh my goodness, another blank tile. Excellent. So that means I just have to basically fill the prompt here. I can do any movie I want from whichever prompt I draw, which is always good. That's enough there. All right, let's see what we have. Oop, it's turned around. Oh my gosh, another boutique label pick, this time from the Asylum. And you can see I crossed out the boutique because it's Asylum. So this is actually awesome because I have a giant Asylum collection that I've just been waiting to dive into. So let me go see which movie I'm going to watch from the Asylum in the month of March.
Which one do I do? Which one do I do? There's so many to choose from, I don't know which to do.
I just love going through like my Asylum films and finding something to watch. So I blank letter, I could pick any movie from Asylum. And so what I decided to go with is one that I picked up recently at Big Lots. And the trailer for this I actually saw on one of the other Asylum movies I was watching recently. And it just looks awesome. And so I'm going to watch AE Apocalypse Earth. So you guys know, if you know Asylum, they always like compare it to two different movies on the back. So this says it's Avatar meets Predator with Adrian Paul and Richard Grieco. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. Like I said, the trailer for it just looks like a lot of fun. So this, we're following this like group of refugees from Earth, and they land on this distant planet, and that's where they have to start fighting for the, like fighting against these aliens. So they are basically fighting for their survival against this alien species, which I guess technically they are the alien species because they're visiting the other planet, but whatever, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, just looks like a blast. I am really genuinely looking forward to this one. So AE Apocalypse Earth is my third film for my March TBW. What a weird month of picks. All three of these were from like my boutique label selections, which is just so strange that all three of them popped up in the same video. So I don't know, last month was weird too because I had a Blu-ray pick where I could watch any because I had a blank tile. Same with 4K. I could watch literally any 4K movie in my collection. So it's just a weird couple of months, but I know that I will pay for it down the line because the prompts won't always be that nice. And like I said, I want to add in some more thanks to your guys' recommendations and some other ideas I had as I was looking through over there just now. But anyway, I'm going to watch these three. So we have AE Apocalypse Earth from Asylum, Repo Man from Criterion Collection, and Luther the Geek from Vinegar Syndrome. So yeah, should be a really fun kind of exploitation heavy month, which I'm all about. So really looking forward to checking these three out. And then at the end of the month, talking about them and ranking them to see which one was my favorite. All right, guys, so that is my TBR and TBW pile for the month of March. This is going to be a fascinating month, especially on the movie side, like all exploitation style films, which is just right up my alley. So the deck of cards were very nice to me this month, and I cannot wait to dive into these. But let me know down in the comments below if you guys have read or watched anything that I'm planning to consume in the month of March. I would love to hear your thoughts on them, but please keep it spoiler free. I would really appreciate that. And if you guys, most importantly, have any suggestions for additional prompts for my game, please leave those ideas down in the comments below. Like I said, thank you for the ones that left some last month. I will definitely be adding those in moving into, I guess it would be April. So leave any more down below. And actually, when I was looking through my collection just a few minutes ago, another couple ideas popped into my head. So hopefully next month we'll have some additional prompts in there. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today. If you guys did enjoy this video, though, please give it a like down below. That really does help me out. And like I always say, I don't just talk books and movies. I talk all things media, be it books, movies, video games, graphic novels, manga. If it's media related, I'm interested in it. And if you are too, you might consider subscribing. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching, and I want to encourage you to consume some media today. I'll catch you next time.